Hey everybody, I am here today to talk to you about spinning, and I thought it'd be fun to talk a little bit about my yarn spinning journey. So this is, I'm going to put this in the middle of what I've been able to manage to do as a spinner. Let's look at a couple of things that I did early on. So here's an interesting conglomeration. It's wool. It's naturally colored. My teacher, Kelly Nispel, raises sheep, and we went out to her place where she has this big mill to process yarn, and her, at that point, 10 blue-faced Leicester sheep, and there were like 3 of us sitting around in a circle trying to get lessons, and I used a Spinolution spinning wheel that I bought her. She recommends that you start with drop spindles. I'm like, I skipped that. I just want to go to the real thing. Just give me the spinning wheel, you know? So, that's the result. This is a single. Some of it's over twisted. Some of it's under twisted. Definitely what you would call art yarn. So, I'm saving it. I'm not sure what its fate's going to be, but it is kind of an interesting, demonstration of trying to learn how to spin. Here's another one that is, I'm not even sure. I think this has 3 or 4 kinds of yarn. Like you can see there's some red thing is poking out there, and this was very much a superwash. Might even have some nylon in it. I'm not sure. But again, definitely not plied. Nothing too fancy. If we dig in here a little bit, you can break down the anatomy. One of these days I'll unwind this little ball and actually see what's in there, and I don't know, maybe I could ply these two together. That would be interesting. Let's see here, and I have a couple of balls of this kind of stuff where I was just trying to get the hang of it. I think if I was going to teach spinning, and I think a lot of people actually do this, I would just at first start having the student just treadle. Because based on my limited experience, having done this now for about 3 years, if you can get the rhythm of your treadling under control so you can keep the wheel spinning the proper direction at what works for me at the slowest tempo possible, that gives you the most control, then I think it's much easier to then start thinking about adding twist to the yarn and worrying about tension, which that's what I had the most problem with. So here's some more. I got thinner. Look at that. I definitely got thinner. And the twist, well, over twist. Look at that corkscrew. That's crazy. And then some of it obviously is under twisted. But eventually I did learn to ply. And that's how I got to this lovely skein. That's very variegated. We have differing weights of yarn from the finest to the thickest, differing spiral, rotations per inch kind of thing going on. But I got some fun barber pulling, and this skein of yarn is, it really is, it's kind of fun. So I think this is the first one that I ever plied. It's the first one I ever plied. Now, these are going to fall. Don't play with my yarn cat. Here's an earlier skein that I actually spun through a whole, at least 4 ounces of, I think this has a lot of alpaca in it. And again, you can see that I was struggling to control my draft and the tempo and the speed. But then when we get to this orange yarn, as I was showing you at first, this is a 2-ply that I made. And again, you can see there's some variation in the thickness, but this is actually a pretty decent yarn here. I could definitely make something very reasonable with this. The beginning of this was called a cloud preparation. So my friend Kelly, that's her primary way of preparing wool, is in it comes in a bag and it's just basically combed floof. So you get a very woolen spun product in the end, versus this one. This I bought online, and it not only is it superwash, but it has stellina, so you could probably make out some of the sparkle in there. And what happened to me was I started realizing that I was really struggling on the Spinolution wheel to get the tension right. I could not figure that out. And to get, I had problems with the drive band coming off the whirls and stuff. I didn't understand how to make the tension work for me. So I bought this wheel right here. This is my lendrum. And I bought it based on watching Stitches and Starlight. She goes by Tangles and Starlight, I think, on Instagram, and Stitches and Starlight on YouTube. Her name is Tashi. I'm sure you've heard of her if you're a spinner. And based on her experience with the lendrum wheel, I was like, I'm going to try that, So I forked over the money, and kind of as a present to myself. And I'm pretty pleased with this yarn. I think it's very respectable, fairly even yarn that, I've seen people sell hand-spun yarn, and it's really not much better than this. Another early yarn that I spun on the lendrum is this. It has some gray mixed in with burgundy and blue. And I remember the blue I got from my spinning teacher was one of the ones that she gave us to bring home and practice with. But the other I actually thrifted from a flea market. And here's another, I'm pretty sure this is another superwash yarn that I plied. And I think I'm actually going to combine these. They would make kind of a nice stripe combination in a sweater. I also have this one, which is another kind of interesting mixed up from cloud preparation that I got from my teacher, Kelly. And I think it turned out pretty well. But now I'll show you some of the yarns that I'm spinning these days. I've kind of got to the point where I like to use the smallest whirl on this spinning wheel. One of these days I'll try to maybe do a video about the anatomy of the spinning wheel. And I like to do a 3-ply, so I'll spin 3 thin bobbins full of, really fine yarn, and then ply it up in a 3-ply. This is black Welsh mountain sheep, and this is the natural color wool, and it's 3-ply. I don't know if you can make out terribly well. I've got sunlight coming in behind me, as you can tell, but it turned out very nice. It's a woolen spun. It was a cloud preparation that I got, and this yarn, I bought enough of this. I felt like I was getting good enough at spinning to where I could afford to buy a sweater's quantity of floof. So I bought some roving, and I really like the color variations of this. So again, I spun 2 strands and I plied them together. So this is a 2-ply. I kind of gravitate towards a 3-ply yarn, but on this particular preparation, because it's so woolly and it's got so much volume to it, I think 2-ply is actually perfect. So this right here, this is about as thin as it's gonna get. And then this strand over here is just a little bit thicker. So maybe you can take my progress as a spinner as encouragement that you can do it too, because I was, to be honest, in the first year or so, I was pretty frustrated. And now that I learned how to spin on this wheel, guess what? I can spin on my Spinolution. So what I've ended up doing is I'll spin my wool on the lendrum, got 3 bobbins, and I always weigh it in advance. So I'll take whatever volume amount of wool I have. I use a kitchen scale, weigh it out, portion it out, 3 equally weighted sections, or maybe 2, depending on if I want to do a 2-ply or a 3-ply. And then I get it all spun up on the bobbins for the lendrum. I've got 7 bobbins, so I can rotate. I can have 2 projects going at one time. Then I'll use my Spinolution wheel to ply it. So that has become my designated plying wheel. And that's working out pretty well. This is another 2-ply that's going to go with this yellow to make, basically I'm planning on a striped sweater. I think it's going to look really cool. I think the colors harmonize well. This is wool. I'm not sure what breed. I've forgotten, to be honest. I think it might be Cormo. Hand dyed. So yeah. Anyone, I think, it just takes a little patience to go from this to this. Took me about 3 years, but it's worth the wait because now I can make my own damn yarn. And that's what we want. So hope you all enjoyed this episode. See you soon. Take care. Bye.